I'm going to go into like our statements for this last year or the last 6 months and go through each line item so that we can categorize how much are we spending on average. All of a sudden, like I think you were watching Netflix or something. You were on your computer doing something.
Yeah. I just remember pausing it and running over it.
Yeah, because I was like, hey babe, guess how much you're spending on Amazon, for example, or shopping or clothes or things like that. And I gave you the number. And you're like, I've never heard or seen you run that fast before. You flew over. You're like, that's not true.
You're making up these numbers. I returned them.
Yeah. And I'm like, babe, I already calculated the returns on here as well. These are numbers that I pulled from the statements, the bank statements.
I thought you were making up those numbers just to get me.
Yeah, I was colluding with the bank to make up some numbers just to trick you, to make you feel bad.
Welcome to the Magnetic Mismatch Show. This is Linda.
And this is Will. And I'm really annoyed today, aren't you?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
We were hoping to get our snack today, our usual
weekly snack.
Weekly treat, right?
Yeah.
But, things just didn't work out today. So hopefully we'll get it to next week. No.
I'm glaring at you.
A murderous look. Oh my God.
Death glare.
Okay, fine. Tomorrow's okay. Sunday, so we'll still have a chance to go and get our treat.
Okay.
Whew. Life saved. But anyways, so today's topic is it's actually a pretty fun one.
Yeah.
So the topic is, well, I guess it's like serious and fun-ish.
It was pretty comical for us.
We had fun talking a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Before the show today. So the topic is your spouse overspending? See, right away, we're trying to stir up the pot, like stir some drama.
Well, I thought you were the overspender.
I thought you were the overspender. I think that was because we didn't really know what our spending habits were, even though we kind of dated for a while,
Yeah, we kind of kept that separate.
Yeah.
Because we are two very independent people.
Yeah.
And when we got married, the first year of marriage seemed pretty chaotic, right? Especially
really?
Right? Yeah, because we had so many things to do prior to marriage.
Right.
Right. It's not like we had time to sit down and really. I mean, we both knew that we're responsible people.
Yeah.
But other than that, we didn't have like the nitty gritty details of
the deep dive into
exactly.
Show me your statements and all that stuff.
Yeah, we didn't have time for that, and kind of first year kind of flew by, and we didn't get to it until our after our first year of marriage, because we're still on our year in what?
We're in our second year.
Are we really? No, not yet. Oh, yeah.
We're getting to year two, right?
Yeah, getting to year two.
Getting to year two.
Yeah. So now that we've had time to really sit down and kind of go through the details, it was pretty definitely an interesting experience.
Eye-opening, maybe?
Yeah. Because the first year, we kind of just threw together a quick plan, right? We calculated how much rent, utilities, things that
household expenses.
Exactly, that we would share.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically just split the expenses in half, and we opened an account where every month it automatically deducted from each of our accounts.
Right.
But other than that, we had no clue on each other's spending habits.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know the details, like you said.
Just the details.
Right, I think it was more like, I knew that you weren't a spendthrift for the most part. Sort of arguable. Yeah. Well, I knew, like you said, we're both responsible, right? Pretty responsible people. And, it was more just like we needed to find a way that works for us since we got married and we now are combining our finances. But like you said, it was just more thrown together and make sure the bills are paid and and then kind of that's it. Whatever's left over, you can spend however you spend. I spend however I spend, and then that was it, right?
Yeah, for a whole year.
But what's interesting too is when you think about like somebody getting married, it's like two completely different people, right, coming together, and they're bringing their finances together. So, really, you have potentially two different styles that are clashing. Like what was your spending like before getting married?
I think before getting married, actually, I was.
Would you say you were overspending, an overspender?
I wouldn't say I was an overspender.
I don't think anyone like would admit to that though. I don't know.
But for a while, I had an interesting relationship with money, because for a while, even after I was working and making money, I was having a hard time spending it because I was returning a lot of things. I would buy it and then feel guilt and then return. But then you kind of set me aside, and we talked about money, and you're like, okay, as long as you budget yourself, X goes to retirement, X goes to savings, like you should be able to have a percentage that you're able to spend. But then I took it way out of proportion. And that's when the splurges started happening. Like
Right.
I started justifying these splurges.
It's kind of like you gave yourself permission to spend a certain percentage of your income, right? A budget in your mind. You had a dollar amount, and every year, I mean, I only gave that to you as like a guideline. I'm like, you could spend up to the X percentage of your income for you. You should, right? You should treat yourself a little bit. That's why you work so hard. And you're like, really? Okay. And you made sure every year
to hit those numbers.
That you spent up to the maximum allowable for yourself.
Even if I didn't want the item.
Even if you didn't need it. It could be like, I don't know, whatever.
So silly, yeah.
It's like, I have to. Oh, there's still money there. I got to spend it. I didn't spend my annual budget for myself.
Yeah, and it kind of carried over until after we were married.
Yeah.
But then, now that, we're in our second year of marriage, and we're talking about a family, and we're talking about doing joint projects together, now it's more important than ever that we really have a good grasp of your spending and needs and my spendings and needs, right?
Yeah.
Because there's certain expenses that are non-negotiable, and we need to know what those expenses are. And I think it's important.
Yeah, of course. And it's an adjustment, right? It takes time because I'm sure when you were spending the way you were, and I would say you were pretty good for the most part,
I think you were worse than I am.
Whoa. Those fighting words.
I'm just saying.
You're right. Actually, when I was single, right, before we got married, well, not single, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a bachelor.
Living on your own.
Yeah, living on my own. We weren't living together yet. And I was just, I did spend more than I probably should have on like going out, right? Like
dining out
quite often and
every day, morning through lunch. Wait, breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
That's not true. I cooked too for a period of time, but there was a period where for sure I was overspending on dining out. Even I realized it at some point, but at that point it was also kind of like I didn't really have to worry about anybody else. It's just like, hey, I can cover my expenses. I'm good. I can spend however I want, and that it was fine. It worked.
Yeah.
But like you said, as we got more serious, and obviously as we we got married and we're thinking about potentially getting adding to our family and things like that, it is more critical. Like it made us think more and really sit down and talk about it with each other. Like, hey, we kind of really need to know like what's going on.
Yeah, and it's important to talk about that because you and I, as a couple, I think we were overspending as a couple,
and we didn't realize it either.
We didn't realize that.
We could be better. I mean, again, I think we're pretty good for the most part.
Yeah, we're pretty good, but we were spending on things where necessarily it wasn't the smartest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for a while it was fun because we wanted to treat ourselves and and just enjoy our first year of marriage.
Yeah.
But but when you really break down these expenses, they really add up. Like, for example, we were getting coffee every day, coffee and breakfast every single day. And that was a huge expense and time. It was like a big time commitment too. So we're not just talking about money, but also, quality time together,
Yeah.
because we were stressing about getting to a coffee shop every single morning,
Yeah.
right? Dealing with the traffic, and then if there was a long line, I was stressing about being late to work. That was stressful too. So I think we came up with solutions to make our lives better.
Yeah, an alternative. Because I think sometimes when people think about, like, they hate the word budget, right? When you talk about, so, like you get goosebumps, right? Or like your hair stands up, and it's really one of those things where people don't even want to deal with it. It's funny because you know how, like, we're talking about us coming together as a family, combining our finances, and like thinking about the future. Part of that is like knowing your numbers and looking at statements, looking at expenses. How much are we actually spending, right? Yes, we have a joint account where we pay our monthly, right, expenses as a household.
Yeah.
But we didn't really know all the details. And so my suggestion was like, all right, I'm going to go into like our statements for this last year or the last 6 months and go through each line item so that we can categorize how much are we spending on average. And so I was doing this project like at my computer in the other room, and then I was just laughing, and then you overheard me and you knew I was working on some numbers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I think you were watching Netflix or something. You were on your computer doing something.
Yeah. I just remember pausing it and running over to see.
Yeah, because I was like, hey babe, guess how much you're spending on Amazon, for example, or shopping or clothes or things like that. And I gave you the number. And you're like, I heard you, like, I've never heard or seen you run that fast before. You flew over. You're like, that's not true. Like, these, what'd you say? Like,
you're making up these numbers. I returned them.
Yeah. And I'm like, babe, I already calculated the returns on here as well. These are numbers that I didn't, that I pulled from the statements, the bank statements.
I thought you were making up those numbers just to get me.
Yeah, I was colluding with the bank to make up some numbers just to trick you, to make you feel bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so like it was eye-opening, right? Wouldn't you say? Like, what were you shocked? I mean, like, like legit shocked. You weren't just like,
yeah, I was shocked. I didn't realize how much money I was actually spending on things that I wasn't even really using.
Yeah.
And you too. We found some expenses that you were able to save on too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I mean,
I'm not trying to point the finger.
I mean, I was definitely, I don't know why. It just made me very like guarded, right?
You got super defensive about it for sure.
And I just felt like, when it comes to finances, it's such a sensitive topic. And I just felt like judged for my spending habits.
Okay, here's the thing. Like, so we were like, she obviously was like in denial a little bit, and she's like, no, that can't be right. It's probably because we're in the quarantine. Maybe we're spending a little bit more because it's time. Like, no, this is like the last like 12 months or something, 6 to 12 months that I pulled up. And then she's like, she stormed out of the room, and I'm just like, okay, like, what's going on? Then she calls her friend, and she starts telling her friend, like, oh, Will's like laughing at me, judging me about my spending. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what?
And then her response is, oh, it can't be that bad.
Yeah, of course she's gonna have your side, right? But yeah, I think that was just funny because sometimes we really don't know. And I'm not saying it's all you, right? Like I was going through it and looking at my own spending. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean,
I spent that much on, computer games or whatever, it's like.
Yeah. So, but then it was nice too, because now after, we did that exercise and you really broke down all of our expenses, there were a lot of things that I was able to cut out.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, for the last, I would say 3 months, I haven't been to the gym because it was closed. And I was paying for this premium gym that was like $200 a month.
Yeah.
That I was able to cut out because I figured, hey, once conditions are safe, if I do decide to join back, I can. But in the meantime, I was paying for like
Boutique like gym, right?
yeah, and for a boutique gym that I wasn't using. But then, I was doing all these online workouts
Right. We've
subscriptions
both been.
that are a lot less,
It's free.
and some are
Oh,
free.
summer subscriptions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of
You're
them
right.
are just it was like, I don't know, $10 a
Yeah,
month.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
something very inexpensive versus a boutique gym where
Mhm.
it was super expensive, but I kept paying it. But then I'm like, wait, I haven't been for like 3 months or more.
Yeah.
So I decided to stop that membership.
All right.
And then for you, you realized you had multiple gym
I
memberships.
know. It's because I had like one gym a while ago that like when there's a grand opening at a gym, they usually do promotions, right? And so they give you like a really good price. So like LA Fitness or like 24-hour fitness, a lot of times these big gyms, they'll do like, a crazy discount. And then after that, you never get that same price. So I've been holding on to this like same price. It's kind of dumb because it's like,
Because you don't
I don't
really
even use it, but then I'm
And we
like,
don't
but I don't
live.
want to lose that price. What if I switch back,
Yeah. And where we live is very far.
Right. So I had that membership that I didn't want to let go because the price was so low. And then when we moved out here to our new place, I got another gym membership, and that was a lot more expensive. So I was like, wait, why do you have multiple memberships?
Yeah.
So I was able to cut that down as well. But yeah, like I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for like us going through the numbers, but also of the quarantine, like
And
not
then
using it
also, we were overspending as a couple, like I said earlier, with
with the
the
coffee.
coffee and the
Yeah.
breakfast. And then we invested in a really good espresso maker,
Right.
which, it's not just about the money, it's about the quality in the morning
Sure.
that we have together as well. So now, the fact that we're not rushing to a coffee shop every morning and dealing with traffic and the lines, we're able to enjoy our morning coffees together and a small breakfast if we feel like it.
Yeah. Nice little brunches.
While we do our grateful journal
Yeah.
together. Right, the time spent is more quality. And then we figured, and then also we were dining out so much as a couple,
A lot more than we thought.
yeah, in a week, because at any time we got tired, we were quote unquote tired or this or
You just
that.
don't feel
we
like
just
cooking.
Don't feel like cooking. We were just dining out, and that was adding up
Yeah.
quite a bit.
But again, we like when you're not looking at it and you just assume it's like, and you justify it, right?
You
It's
do.
like-
Yeah.
And then you don't think it's that big of a deal, which let's be real, it's not that big of a deal. And I think it's
Yeah.
totally okay to like treat yourself every
Yeah,
once in a
absolutely.
while, right?
Yeah.
But we were not just treating ourselves. I think we were indulging a little too much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think so we saved a bunch of money because we've been cooking at home a lot more, right?
Yeah. And we only allow ourselves once a week to get our weekly treats.
Yeah. And then beyond that, it was also like we saved a bunch of money on just like water, in general.
Wow.
Like drinking water.
It was ridiculous. I looked at the bill,
Uh-huh.
and we were spending like $20 a week on water.
Mm-hmm.
Water, because we were buying bottled water.
Yeah.
These alkaline water
Yeah.
that we were drinking. And then I decided to invest in a really good filter. So now that's a $80 saving per month. Easily, it pays for itself. And the fact that we had to go to the market and lug these cases up was quite a chore.
What do you mean we?
Okay, you lugged them up, and I supported you.
Yeah, you pointed the direction, or you opened the door for me. How about that?
I did.
For me to lug the water in.
Yeah.
Up the 3 flights of stairs. But yeah, I mean, so I think the point here is like we found like, well, first and foremost, we identified, right? We were made aware of the fact that we were overspending more than we were comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
But that was simply because we never really looked at it. And then we made a plan to make some adjustments. And I think with some of the things we talked about, like coffee, the water, right?
The dining out.
Yeah, the dining out. It's not that we're going to stop those things or eliminate them and be like, just like a total like prude and not spend anything either.
No.
Just super frugal. It was more about finding alternatives, right? Finding other ways to still do those things, but maybe more cost efficiently, And that really helped us just being resourceful and thinking about what are the ways can we get some of these things done
Yeah.
or still have these things to enjoy without breaking the bank. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, Will and I, we have goals we would like to meet, right? And it's important that both of us respect our plans together
Yeah.
and stick with it. Right? Because I don't want to be the person to overspend and affect, our lifestyle or put us in danger in any way.
But that's the thing, right? Like what if there's a situation, because our topic is about what if your spouse is overspending, and in our case it was like both of us were overspending, so we didn't
Yeah.
think of it as a problem,
Yeah,
right?
and it could have been as simple as just pointing it out because
Yeah.
I wasn't even aware that I was overspending.
But now that you are aware, you're
Yeah.
making a conscious effort to try to be more mindful of how you're spending, right? Again, not like you're not.
It's not like I'm perfect, right? I
And
still go
you
by.
still do shopping, my
I
friend.
still do shopping.
You still do shopping,
but not as much.
I will give you that.
Yeah.
And usually, if it's not something like like super important, I mean, you still buy nice things here and there for yourself, right? For fun or whatever. But I think, yeah, the amount of shopping has gotten cut down quite a bit, so that's good.
Thank you.
So I've noticed that. But I think it's important, right, to talk about it because you might not even know there's an issue, or it could create some tension and some stress amongst the couple, the relationship, the marriage.
Yeah.
It could create some fights because, like, imagine if I was the one overspending and you were the person that was saving, right? You're always saving, and that's going to impact both of us, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it fair that, let's say, by the time we get to retirement, that you were the one that saved most of the money, but then I was the one that was like spending most of it?
Yeah.
Because technically we should be a team, right? So we should be working together and having that level of respect, as you said, too.
Yeah. And I think it creates a lot of stress, especially for a single family earning household income household. I think that's stressful because let's say one person is a spender and the other person is a saver.
Yeah.
But with one income, it could be very difficult. Yeah. And especially for the spender, you could potentially put your family at risk of losing your home.
So let me ask you a question. What if in that case, like, let's say I'm the overspender and you're the one that's the main income source. I'm taking care of the kids, the family, or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you obviously see that there's an issue, and I'm buying just stuff that's like, just, not even useful for the family or whatever. It's just because I just like to buy stuff.
I think at that point,
what would you do?
You need to really sit down and have a serious conversation. And I think sometimes having numbers helps too, and having a goal in mind, right? Saying, hey, we're trying to work towards this, but your spending is causing us to not be able to reach our goal or have savings to protect our family.
Yeah. Or, hey, how we talked about we want a vacation here next year.
Yeah.
Right. We want to go to Bali or something.
As a
or
family
Hawaii.
And have an experience, but you're shopping, it's not contributing to that.
So you would confront your spouse. You would talk to them.
But I think it has to be in a loving space, right?
Yeah.
You can't just come off.
It's like, hey, stop spending here.
Yeah, because I think that's a fight ready to happen.
Yeah. It's how you approach it, right? It's got to come from like a soft approach.
Has to come
initially.
from love, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if your spouse, even after the talk, continues the same spending habits, then I think the issue is just more than just the shopping.
Yeah, maybe the spending is
something
just
deeper.
like a symptom of some deeper issue.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys would really need to kind of figure out,
address,
right?
Yeah. And if it's beyond what you can address between you two, then maybe this is a good time to bring in a therapist or, speak with a relationship expert, right?
Yeah.
And have someone mediate the conversation.
Yeah. That's never a bad thing.
No.
Yeah. And I think just kind of on that topic too. It's kind of like, it's hard, like I think even, money's always an uncomfortable topic. And it's crazy that even though you're married, it's still tough sometimes to talk to your spouse about money. Not everyone is as open or comfortable talking about it, right? But it needs to happen, especially if there's an issue that's going to impact the family,
Yeah.
as difficult as it might be. But I think you start there, and then if hopefully the person recognizes it, because sometimes, like we were saying earlier, they might not even realize they're spending the way that they do, or that it's impacting or making the other person feel uncomfortable or insecure or whatever, right? Like, it's important to acknowledge that. But if they still can't go beyond that, it's just a tough situation, and sometimes it might not be even be their fault, right? They could just be, I don't know, it's just spending and it makes them feel good or whatever, right? There's a deeper issue there.
Yeah. But and at the end of the day, it's worth at least having a talk.
Yeah.
Right. And just, I think the numbers don't lie.
Oh, really? Can you repeat that, please?
But it's
because I pulled up numbers.
Yeah.
You thought I was lying.
Yeah, I thought you were making it up, but that's different.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah. But I think, it's tough because, especially someone so independent like myself, like I don't want someone to sit there and judge me.
So for you, it was more like you felt like you were judged?
Yeah. Because you're breaking down my, it's just very, it's just.
You felt like, oh, well, yeah. I was intruding on your independence a little.
Kind of.
So what if someone else feels that way? Someone could be in that situation, because that wasn't what I was meant to do.
It kind of settled in after a while, but initially, yeah, it was definitely.
That's why you got defensive.
A trigger, yeah, it was a trigger. I felt like you were intruding on my space.
Like, why are you looking at my spending like with a magnifying glass?
Yeah, but then when I took a step back, I realized that this is the best for our future. Right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of nice to know where I was overspending. And, the fact that you saved me quite a bit of money was nice.
Yeah.
Because then now I have more shopping money.
Oh, wow.
Just kidding.
It kind of turns back into that.
I'm just kidding.
No, I think what's funny too is, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because prior to that, I think every time I brought up the topic about, hey, let's look at our numbers, you would like find every reason to not do it and to avoid it, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe can we do it tomorrow, or like can we do it after, something else?
But now that we have a plan, it feels good, right? Because I know that if I stick to the plan, assuming nothing really goes wrong, then you and we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah.
And have what we want to have.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and that's powerful, and have the security that we want to have, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's great, like just from our personal experience. I mean, it has to start with, like, you really gotta look at the numbers. You really gotta have an open, honest conversation with your spouse, and just make sure you're on the same page, and tie it back to like the goals that you guys want to accomplish together. And that should trump your temptation to want to like splurge on stuff that doesn't matter, that could take away from that goal or whatever it might be,
Yeah. But you have to be realistic too.
Yes. You still have to have money set aside for yourself.
Set a little bit of money aside, or percentage of your income to enjoy.
Yeah.
But
you can blow that off and do it whatever you want with it. I think that's important.
But if you don't want anything, don't be like me and feel like you have to spend it all. Put that money back into your savings pot.
Or what I found helpful too is if you don't want to use that money for yourself, you could use that money for somebody else, right? You could use the money to buy something nice for a loved one, a family member.
Treat somebody.
Yeah, maybe that'll give you more joy. You might get more joy out of that than like spending that money on yourself.
Yeah.
But I do think that like having some of your income go towards something fun, right, is important, because it can't feel like everything's going towards the bills. Everything is just going towards, responsible things. Because if that's the case, you never really enjoy your money that you work so hard to get. And then like you start resenting like saving, right? And then like you're not going to be consistent. I think you fall off the wagon because it's not fun, you know?
And what's helpful for me is that everything is kind of automated.
Yeah.
So the fact that if I don't have to think about it, you know, every month, balancing these numbers, like
it's simple. Right?
Yeah, it's simple because then I don't think about it anymore.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. It never existed.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed how that's helped you a lot because it's kind of like you already made a decision to set a certain amount of money aside for your future, right? Whether that's retirement or whatever, one of our goals. And then you have a percentage set aside for yourself, right? The fund, right? And then everything else that's left over, we pretty much said that's spending money that you can use however you want, right? Without any guilt. I think that's huge in that aspect, right? When you don't feel guilty about spending.
Yeah.
You definitely don't feel guilty anymore about spending the remaining money.
No. But I've been good about not spending that too because, you know, I'm trying to simplify my life, right? I realize that these clutters are causing me a lot of stress too.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we've learned right through this quarantine.
That I really don't need that much. You know, I just need I like nice basics. That's what I define myself. I really enjoy nice basics. So as long as those are in place. Like
practical stuff.
Yeah, those stuff are in place. Like I really don't need that much more.
Yeah.
And I feel like using our money towards our goals is more experiences for ourselves and our family is much more fulfilling than buying a really nice item. I get excited for a little bit of period, but it kind of quickly dies out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, that's the end of the episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some value and learned something maybe from our experiences with, this conversation. So if you're going to have a conversation with your spouse or maybe talk to them about spending habits and all that good stuff, I think it's a great time to do it.
Yeah.
And so make sure to follow us on our Instagram, right? At Magnetic Mismatch. We also have our YouTube channel. Same handle. And then also, if you enjoyed this episode, please do give us a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. We're also available on Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, really all the major audio platforms.
Mm-hmm. And we release a new episode every Thursday.
Yeah, so make sure to tune in. All right.
Until next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.